everybody. My name is Ross. That is Lauren. Welcome to our Sunday vinyl video. We went to a record show here in Jacksonville, Florida recently at a brewery. Surprise, surprise. The drinkers were at a brewery for a record show. And we walked away with a couple of different records that we're going to have reviews of on the channel. Some oldies that were fantastic and a couple of more recent pressings that I was kind of surprised to find. And this is one of them. This is an original pressing of Taylor Swift's 1989 that we found. And I will say this at the start before we get into this. I fully understand how and why the Taylor's version of things exist. But I've talked many times in the past on the Infectious Groove podcast and even recently on vinyl videos we've done on this channel. Sequencing matters to me a great deal. Just to show that this is like in all things being equal, this is not a Taylor Swift thing. One of the first Pink Floyd records, I think the first Pink Floyd record I ever heard, was a live album called The Delicate Sound of Thunder. It was originally on 2 CDs, 2 LPs, 2 cassettes, this whole thing. And when I was a kid, there was all this talk about like, oh, they did these other songs on the tour but that weren't on that live album. But my whole life, I listened to the record that way. Mm-hmm. About 5 or 6 years ago, all the fans rejoiced because they did a 3 LP version of it where they added in the stuff that was missing. And I ran to the store and bought it, and then I did not like it because it wasn't what I was used to, right? I'm very, very into track listings. I think everything, when a record is thought out in a certain way, I think it's best for it to be there. If I had my way, the way the Taylor's versions things would have happened with all of the bonus tracks was it would have been like, here's the album, and then this extra disc of other things that were around at that time.
Right.
I'm not familiar enough with the material to say if it wasn't good enough to make the record or anything. I'm not here to make that call. I'm explaining why it is that I wanted an original pressing of this album. Mm-hmm. It's how I know the album. It is, I think, overall my favorite record of hers. I love her country material. I saw her way back when. And I was one of the first people as she was going through, like, I think Red was when she first kind of delved into like some real pop. And I was one of the first people to be like, please stop doing that. And I, you know this, I'm always happy to be wrong about that stuff. When this record came out, I was like, oh, this is going to fail so hard. And I've never been happier to be wrong. I think I've said to you, if I'm talking about Michael Jackson's Bad, Kelly Clarkson's Meaning of Life, I almost always say, I'll say, oh, that's one of the best pop records in the past 20 years. And then I'll go, oh, well, and Taylor Swift 1989. I almost always say that, don't I?
You do.
As I think it's a brilliant pop masterpiece. So the reason why I'm qualifying all that before we get into anything is because this is a special case where I think some fans might be like, well, why would you want the one with less tracks? Or, you know what I mean? Like, so, and that's why I was overjoyed to find this. I came running back to you at the brewery. I was like, look what I found. Yeah. And like everybody on Facebook was like,
grown man with his Taylor Swift record.
I know everybody on Facebook was like, you're the last person I expected. I'm like, don't judge people. So I bought 2 records that day, full disclosure, Taylor Swift and New Edition's Greatest Hits. So
you bought them from the same vendor too, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was all excited. And I helped somebody else buy a copy of Michael Jackson Bad. Having said that, the original pressing of 1989, there's a lot to love about it. I think the packaging is very cool, very basic, just the Polaroid look. To me, it's not indicative of any sound. Like when you look at it, you don't go, oh, this is her pop record. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you definitely don't go, this is her pop record.
But you also wouldn't say like, oh, here's another country one. Like you don't look at it and say, there's going to be anything. There's no pretense when you look at this. And then you drop the needle and you're like, oh, this is completely different than what I was expecting. Right. But I love the packaging on it. The only thing I always thought that they should have done, and this is totally judging someone's work by someone else's work. But when Pearl Jam put out the No Code LP, and it had a bunch of Polaroids, they did like 10-inch, not real Polaroids, but 10-inch reprints that look like Polaroids of other things. I always thought that would have been cool if they had done that with us, but I'm judging the packaging as is, not how I kind of wanted it to be. Rice Paper Inner Sleeves, yay! Go whoever had something to do with that. I don't know who pressed this, but whoever did put Rice Paper Inner Sleeves, that's awesome. The sound quality on the original pressing, again, I've never heard the Taylor's version of this. I think it's so good. It's really deep basses, really crisp highs. A lot of mid range, but for me, the highs don't crash. There's no sibilance, like there's no tinny highs. You don't get what they call ear fatigue. Like after a side of it, you're not like, God, I love this album, but put something else on. You know what I mean? Like, there's stuff like Blank Space that I could listen to 10 times in a row on vinyl. Like it's just produced so damn well. And it sounds magnificent. Now, I'm going to use the word you used. You were like, well, the one I need to hear to judge this is Shake It Off, because you, in your own words, when that album came out, you mainlined that song.
I did.
So what did you think about hearing it on vinyl for the first time after hearing it digitally? I'm guessing in the thousands.
Yeah, I will tell you this. There was more to it hearing it on vinyl. And you know, that song being what it is, there were I don't know if it's actual horns, but there were like little like horn parts.
I'm guessing that
were happening. Yeah. I don't know. This is my trombone motion apparently. Sure. That were happening that like had always been there. I just never really, heard them. Yeah. So, I mean, Shake It Off definitely on vinyl felt a lot more percussive than it did digitally.
And I think that's part of that song. Like that song's got that, to me,
that sick beat.
Right. It's got that cheerleader feel to it. And I think it's even more.
Yeah, it's more cheerleader.
Yeah, on the vinyl, which I like a lot. Yeah, sure. We're making it a word.
Yep.
Price, $25 sealed. Because I thought as soon as I saw it in the bin, I was like, oh, I don't even know what these go for now, because for many reasons, the Taylor's versions are the ones that are readily available. As far as I'm aware, they're not going to repress the original LPs. I don't know the legalities of all that. So if you're a Swiftie or someone who even knows the legalities, we're not saying anything about that because we don't know.
Or a legal Swiftie.
Yeah. Or legally a Swiftie. But I was surprised. I thought for sure I was going to pick it up and be like, oh my God, that goes for $100 now.
Yeah, no.
So I grabbed it for 25 because I think I've said to you, we've seen Taylor's version in retail stores. And almost every time I'm like, I'm never going to find it, but I would rather have the original pressing.
You said that.
Right. And then I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I found it. So for me, the value is all the way there for this. Like, now that is not to say someday I may buy the Taylor's version and be like, well, now I'd like to hear more songs from that era. For me, it would take a discount, because I think when we see them, they're always like $40 or something like that. There's like a million of them at Target. And they're always like $40. For me, it would take a discount because I would be already paying for most of it is what I already own.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So the value for this at $25 to get the record as I know it is fantastic. So and I would assume with the sound and everything, like because overall, this is probably your favorite record that she's done.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it was all over the place when it came out. I mean, I couldn't even avoid it, and I'm not.
And
super,
you're like, she's not Taylor Swift adverse. She's mainstream adverse, or was at the time. And she famously says this in our personal life, but I had to drag you kicking and screaming into Billie Eilish, and then you were like, wait a minute. There are new artists who do some things.
Yeah.
And even you had heard this record and knew about it.
Yeah, I mean, I have vivid memories of driving down the street listening and singing along to Blank Space. So I'm like, I was very much there. I was there. I was part of this.
What a jam. So, yeah, that is our thoughts on finding a sealed and original pressing of Taylor Swift's 1989. By all means, please share with us your thoughts on the record. If you're a fan of Taylor Swift, please, by all means, leave comments to help us out with anything that we may not have known. If you're not a fan of Taylor Swift, it's super easy just to skip past the video and not leave a negative comment, because there's too much negativity on the internet. And if you're not a fan of hers, then why are you still watching this video? Like, don't.
Why did you make it this far?
Well, no, I just, people do it just so they can leave a comment and be negative, and don't do that. So if you like what we're doing here, drop a like on the video. Please hit the notification bell if you're already subscribed, but you haven't done that part, because we have 3 videos every week, and we would love to get your thoughts on those as well. If you have suggestions for the channel for the other 2 things we do every week, by all means, drop a comment and let us know. Once again, my name is Russ. That is Lauren. And as we always say, thank you so much for watching.